This video is brought to you by Wealthfront, and I'll tell you more about them in just a minute. Why do you think it's so hard for people to be transparent about their money and talk about money? Why is it such a taboo topic in general?
Yes.
I think for all classes, all individuals.
I totally agree. It's like it's so funny because, and I wrote about this in my book, like for women, we have shame if we don't have enough money, but we also have shame if we have quote unquote too much.
Really?
Yes.
Why?
Because it's like, I have more than them and let me hide it because people are going to think I'm showing off, or they have imposter syndrome, right? Am I worthy of having this much money? I've experienced that myself at different times, right? Like you've worked hard for it, but you think that you don't deserve it for some reason. And I think that I think society was sort of designed so that we wouldn't talk about money.
Why?
Because I think it's designed so that we have a few people at the top and a lot of people at the bottom. And so now, then of course the middle class emerged, and we've gone through different things as a middle class, as a collective, right? But I think I think that's part of the reason why it's like, don't tell, employers saying, don't tell your coworkers how much you're making because I'm paying you more than I'm paying this one and I don't want y'all to know, right? So it's like, it comes from those places, but it's reinforced everywhere,
Right. Everyone's reinforcing it.
Exactly. And I think
not just corporations or.
Yes. And because there's so much mystery, it's like, I don't know how much you make, right? You don't know, maybe you know how much I make because I talk about it all the time, but I don't, you know what I mean? So like, we don't know, and we're scared to make assumptions, and we're sort of guessing, and we're like, well, if I put mine out there, I might be embarrassed because I discovered that like I'm actually either making too much related to my peers or too little. And I think it goes back to belonging. We just want to belong to a community, to a group. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And so because of that, it's like we don't want to do anything that's going to make us not belong. It's just an inherent human need to belong. And so I think that we don't talk about money because we think it's going to affect our ability to belong, whether it means we're too broke or we have too much, or somewhere in the middle.
So what conversations should we be having around money? How consistently should we be having them, and with who?
Yes. Okay. So in terms of the conversations I'm having, I'm telling people like, if I get a speaking gig, here's how much they paid me, right? And I asked for more and they gave it to me. So make sure you do that too, right? Like, or I negotiated for higher pay, or I negotiated for profit sharing, or I asked for more vacation days, right? Like we need to share our money earning strategies with each other, especially with, women and people of color, right? Like putting more money, like that's what allyship is, in my opinion, is putting money in the pockets of the groups who need them, right? And who, we have this huge wealth chasm in this country. So like, how can we start to change that? And so that's why I share how much I got paid for a book deal, like all these things that you're not supposed to share. I'm like, I'm gonna tell y'all. Yeah. This is how much I got, this is how I got it, And I think it's important. So I think sharing money-making strategies is very important. I also think one of the things that has been so valuable to me with some of my peers, especially, I will say, my white guy peers in particular, have showed me, like, they have taught me things about, like, investing strategies, or like, oh, here's a strategy that I'm doing with my money, or I'm investing in real estate, or I'm doing these different things. Like, what are people doing with money once you have some, right? Like once you have a little bit more than you need to live off of, what do you do with the excess? And sharing those things, right? Sure. Sharing that information, because it's usually hidden. And it's like, there's a small group of people that know, and you don't know until you have peers who have done it. And then you find out, right? Right. In those quiet conversations that aren't on, on Facebook, right?
Sure. So should people be talking with their friends, their family members, their spouses about money? Or
yes.
What if someone's really uncomfortable, says, you know what, I don't want to talk about the money I make and what we should be doing? What conversation can you have to try to break the wall down?
Well, I think you could say, here's why I want to talk about money. And here's why, like, we have to be, I think if we're willing to be transparent, people will be transparent with us. That's what I've found in the conversations that I've had. And that's how I've learned a lot about money, is by having conversations. The friend that I was spending time with last night, she's an investor and a financial advisor. And so I was asking her, like, okay, well, what are you investing in, and how are you thinking about it, and what is an investment thesis? Like, I don't even know what that means, right? Like, we were having conversations, and she was teaching me all of this stuff because I was willing to tell her like, okay, here's how much money I want to invest, but I don't know where best to put it, that kind of thing. So I think you just got to be willing to put yourself out there first. And I find that people want to talk about it. So when I bring it up and I start sharing, they immediately start sharing because it's like they were like waiting for an opportunity to talk about this.
Yes.
Is what I find. So I think we just got to start doing it and create more transparency around it. And then, it creates opportunity for all. And that's the other piece of it is like, I recognize that, even someone who would be considered a direct competitor, maybe they sell the same thing I sell. I don't believe in competition in that way. I think there's more than enough money to go around. I think there's more than enough opportunity to go around.
Yes.
And I choose to like be friendly with and support my competitors, quote unquote, and vice versa. And that just means that we all get better at what we're doing. We all can serve our clients better, right? We all can make more money.
We'll get back to the interview in just a minute, but first I wanted to tell you about a product that can help you on your investing journey, and that's Wealthfront. Wealthfront is the pioneer of the automated investing movement, and their trusted software allows you to set it and forget it when it comes to your investments. In just a few minutes, they'll set you up with your very own diversified portfolio of low-cost index funds that's tailored to your individual risk tolerance. And then they'll handle all the rebalancing for you. And best of all, Wealthfront does all of this at an affordable cost. Wealthfront also has a new offering specifically for anyone interested in cryptocurrencies, but doesn't want all the hassle of buying it directly. In fact, they're the only solution on the market that allows you to get exposure to Bitcoin and Ethereum as part of a diversified portfolio with automated rebalancing. There's been a lot of talk in the news lately about crypto, as I'm sure you know, and Wealthfront makes it easy getting started. So whether you're already investing in crypto, you've been considering it, or you just don't know where to start, I encourage you to check them out. Investing in yourself and in your future shouldn't feel like a roller coaster. Make Wealthfront do it for you by going to invest.wealthfront.com/Lewis and opening an account today. And I've partnered with them to get you $5,000 managed for free forever. Okay, back to more investment tips with Rachel Rodgers.
There are times where I'm too trusting and someone, I don't know, I guess you could, for lack of a better phrase, steals from me, right? Or takes an opportunity or says one thing but does another behind my back or whatever. And that's going to happen too, but I'm like, but I don't want to be a person who's closed. So I just got to be me, and it is what it is, right? Like there's going to be some occupational hazards when you're being transparent.
Absolutely.
And you just got to navigate that as best you can. But I just choose to be who I want to be in the world instead of who I feel like I need to protect myself,
What was harder for you, making your first $100,000 in a year or making your first $1 million in a year?
$100,000 for sure.
Why is making $100,000 harder than making $1 million in a year?
Because it's like, I think we're just figuring it out. I also think we're charging too little for our work at that point.
Is this when you're working as a career or when you had your own business or freelancing?
I never made $100,000 prior to starting my business.
Got it.
I went from college to I had a job in between college and law school, and then I went to law school. And then I started my own practice. So
you didn't work at a law firm after law school. So you started pretty much right away being an entrepreneur.
Right.
Which is really hard to do.
Yes. My last salary before I became an entrepreneur was $41,000 a year.
Gotcha.
And really good health insurance.
Yeah.
And I was thrilled.
That was in between law school or in between school and law school. So
yes.
Gotcha.
In between. This was after law school because this was my clerkship.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so you kind of sign on for a year. Your paycheck is not that big, but and you're a lawyer, right?
You're learning the ropes. You're getting reps.
Exactly.
You're getting experience.
And that's kind of why I decided to start my business at that time because I'm like, I already don't have a lot, right? I already know how to live off of this amount of money. Yeah. So I'm like, if I can live off of this now, let me keep my expenses this way or lower them even more. I sold my car and we owned a house and we rented it out, moved into a smaller place.
And how many kids do you have at this time?
I had none yet.
Okay.
Oh, well, actually, that's not true. I had my stepdaughter, but she didn't live with us full time.
Okay.
And so that's what I did at that stage is I cut down my expenses as much as I could so that I could build this business.
How old were you then?
I was, 27,
Okay.
I want to say,
Got it.
2009. Or no, yeah, 2009 to 2010.
Okay, cool.
This was that year. And then I clerked for the judge and I started my practice. And I was like, I made there were months where I made $500 and months that I made $2,000. And that's why linking together, my friend bought a salon. She was a hairstylist. She wanted to buy her first salon. I did the transaction. She was purchasing an existing business and I charged her $500 for that. I don't think I've actually ever told anybody that.
That's cheap.
Because I was ashamed. I was ashamed that I didn't know what to charge for that. Wow. And that I undervalued my services so much that I literally have never told anybody that I charged $500 for that. And she's still a good friend of mine.
Wow.
And she's...
That's not her fault.
No, it's not her fault.
Yeah,
she made bank with that salon and she's since now sold it.
But you also got experience doing that, doing that transaction, that deal, which you'd probably never done at that level.
Yes.
Seems like. So you gained confidence from that.
Yes.
So there was a win there for you as well.
There was a win. But when I saw how many hours of labor were involved.
You put weeks probably, right?
Yes, I'm negotiating with the other side, dealing with a difficult lawyer.
And $500 is a steal.
I mean, for the whole thing.
Can I hire you for that?
I should have charged $5,000 minimum,
right.
But it was but I learned from that. I add value.
Of course.
I can figure it out, and I have a skill in that. I'm trained in knowing how to figure it out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And that was kind of working on the job experience. You weren't fully probably experienced for that yet, it sounds like, but you learned, okay, I didn't need to do these 10 hours of calls that I did here. I could have done this in an email or whatever. I don't know how this works, but whatever it was, you learned your process to simplify it, to maximize it. So
exactly. And back to that $100,000 question, I think that's why. It's we're figuring it out. Usually we don't know exactly what we sell in those early stages of the business, so we're selling everything.
Everything.
Whatever people come to us with, we're like, yeah, we could do that. We just create a custom offer for that.
Whatever money we can bring in, we'll do it.
We will take it. And so you're very busy. I call this stage busy bee because you're very busy at this stage, but nothing's refined, nothing's efficient. Everything is just sort of your massive labor towards whatever you can make happen. And so that first $100,000, I think you are hustling for that. But in order to get to $1 million, or at least to do it in a way that feels sustainable, you need systems, you need process, you need team, right? And so now you're starting to build a sustainable business. You're not just, by brute force making money.
And you need to clarify your offering and your audience and your niche and what your specialty is. You're
exactly.
I'm not just a lawyer that can do anything you want me to do, but here's what I really specialize in.
Exactly.
And here are my 3 packages at these different levels. And And you
and
go all in on marketing that.
Yes. And there's money that you're saying no to.
Absolutely.
You learn that lesson that not all money is good money.
Isn't that crazy?
Yes.
It's so weird. I say this a lot to people. I go, it's weird that I'll turn down massive checks all the time.
Yep.
But I'm just that's not what I want to do, and it doesn't serve my mission.
Yes.
If it's not serving the mission, and I don't need the money, then I shouldn't do something just to bring in more money.
Exactly.
For me.
It's a distraction.
At different stages of my life, a different season, now I said yes to everything. When I'm broke, you say yes to all these things.
Yes.
But then when you're okay, I'm here for a mission, and to serve at the highest level of my skills and abilities, that brings me the most joy and brings others the most joy and benefits the most number of people, then you start saying no to money, which is crazy.
Yes.
It sounds crazy, doesn't it?
It's delightful. I love it.
No,
I feel like, to me, it lets me know that I'm not made money my master.
Yes.
Right? It's very important, but it is a tool.
That's good. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm not beholden to it, and I won't trade anything for it. There's plenty of things that I will not do, and I don't care how much you pay me, Right. So I think that it's good to remember that. And so when you're turning down opportunities, it's just an example of okay, I'm doing things right.
Well, I think you got to understand that just because you turn down money over here doesn't mean it's not going to keep coming to you. Just because you turn down something that's not right for you doesn't mean abundance of something that is right will keep coming to you.
There's so much opportunity. There's always more where that came from.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
That's powerful. Okay, so the first 100,000, how long did it take you? How many years until you made 100,000 in 1 year? Can you remember? Roughly.
So my first year in business, and it was I started September 1st, 2010. And so from that year till September 2011, I made $60,000 that first year.
That's right.
But I think the first full 12-month calendar year was year 2. So it didn't take too long.
And then how long until you made 7 figures in 1 year?
Yeah, that took me 7 years.
After that, yeah. From starting business.
From September 2010, I think it was, maybe it was 6. It was like 2016, 2017.
Yeah.
I think 2017 was my first 7-figure year. And I had gotten close, but not, almost
Crossing,
there,
yeah,
but
yeah.
not quite. And twice. And you know what? It was interesting. What happened is, like, I had my business, my revenue was doubling in the beginning. It was like I made $100,000, then I made 2 or 250, and then then I made 500. Then
it's like
I plateaued.
It's like, okay, 560 and
Right.
620.
I know. It started making me mad. Like from 500 to 700,000. I think I was there for like 3 years.
Yeah.
And there was all kinds of stuff going on in my life. One, there was a lawsuit that one of my business partners. So like, this is one of the things where too trusting too quickly caused some issues. So that was a huge distraction for me at that time. I had 2 babies back to back.
Wow.
So, I was busy with them. And then there were just a lot of lessons I needed to learn. Like I had all these people working for me, but I didn't have good boundaries. And I just kind of let them do whatever they wanted and didn't have, like I was learning how to become a boss. I was learning how to become a leader and a manager.
It's so much more challenging than just doing your skill. Like, let me just be good at the law thing, which is what people wanted me for.
Yes.
Now they want my business for that. And me, but I've got to train the team and
to deliver. Yeah. Right. Exactly.
It's a different skill.
It's totally different, and it can be challenging. And I think that's why a lot of times we're like, well, I'm just going to go back to doing it myself. And it's like, you can, but it's going to keep you small.
Yeah.
You have to say yes to those challenges and learn that new skill, right? And I think leadership skills are so valuable and for everybody. So, I had to learn that, and it took me a couple of years to like figure out how to have stronger boundaries, figure out how to stop letting people waste my time, figure out how to charge for what my services are worth, right? All of those things, those were lessons that I was learning in that time.
Who was wasting your time? Like clients or
employees?
Or
clients were wasting my time, team were wasting my time. Even family members, right? Like I my desk was like right in the front door. So like, it's like the door is here. My desk is right here. My husband would like be coming in and out. He's a stay-at-home dad at the time, taking care of the kids. And he just ran a tight ship with our household. It was amazing. Like I had so much support in that way. But he would like, every time he came through the door, wanted to talk to me, interrupt
me. I gotta focus.
Yes, exactly. It was like, I didn't know how to create boundaries around my work time. And I did eventually learn it. I started getting up at 4 a.m. because I was like, I'd get up at 6 and these kids would, it's like they could tell, like they had a radar the moment I woke up. So then I would get up at 6, like I would be like, okay, I'm going to beat them. I'm going to get up at 5:30. Nope. Still get up with me. 5. Nope. 4:30. Nope. 4 a.m. And they stayed in their beds.
Wow.
So I was like, fine, I'm getting up at 4 a.m. every day then. So that's what I did for a while, just to find that quiet time so I could focus.
If you had to double your revenue in the next calendar year, let's say from this year to next year?
It's such a great question because it points out exactly the places where we're complacent and we're just like, I'm content with this level of growth. I'm not gonna really work hard. I'm gonna coast for the rest of the year. And it's like, if you had to hustle, it's really actually not that different.